much more right now on the Farm Monitor.
Well, for Georgia farmers still feeling the effects of Hurricane Helene, some long-awaited relief is finally here. The state has officially opened applications for a new block grant program aimed at helping producers recover from significant storm damage. From row crop farmers to timberland owners, many across the state are still working to rebuild after devastating losses. While this funding won't fully make up for what was lost, Georgia Ag Commissioner Tyler Harper says it's an important step towards recovery.
We've been able to reach an agreement. We've got, are ready to accept applications and start ensuring that our farm families and timberland owners and others across the state are able to get the needed resources to help them continue to do what they do best every single day. Nobody, unfortunately, none of this makes anybody whole, but it definitely does help them, especially in some trying times that we've seen. And we're glad we are where we are and start rolling these dollars out the door very soon.
And if you're a farmer impacted by Hurricane Helene and think you may qualify for some of that relief, now is the time to act. Again, the state's block grant program officially open. You can find everything you need from eligibility to the application by heading to farmrecovery.com. Keep in mind, though, the deadline to apply is April 27th, so you'll want to get that process started sooner rather than later.
A new growing season is underway, but for many forage producers, the pressure is already building. Our John Holcomb explains from Tifton.
For forage producers across the state, the 2025 growing season delivered one challenge after another, creating tough conditions for production statewide. According to State Forage Extension Specialist Lisa Baxter, it went from one extreme to another, leaving producers searching for answers and hoping for more favorable conditions ahead that still haven't shown up.
The 2025 growing season I have dubbed as the year no grass was happy in the state of Georgia. I don't care if you're talking northwest to southeast, there was not a field happy anywhere in this state. We went from spring floods to very ill-timed summer droughts. And in southwest Georgia, where we are today, it stopped raining in early August and honestly has not really started back since then.
As Baxter stated, those conditions have carried over into this spring, creating concerns not just about what was lost last year, but what lies ahead this season.
With so much of the state being in moderate to severe drought, it's really setting us up for a challenging start to the 2026 season. When you look across a lot of our Bermuda systems, many of us missed our last harvest. And so the field behind me has been the same height since August.
And with limited growth and missed harvest opportunities, many producers are now facing tighter hay stocks and increasing pressure on their operations.
We couldn't get winter grazing in the ground, so that put an additional impact on our hay reserves that were already going into the season somewhat limited for many of our growers. So when you consider that we are rapidly feeding out that hay in the hay barn or whatever baleage we had, and there's very little winter grazing in this state, we need our grass to wake up and get moving fast this year, and that may not happen.
According to Baxter, the situation as it stands isn't optimistic and thinks that producers should err on the side of caution if their stocks are already low.
If they see their hay stocks dwindling on their farm, let's start seeking those out sooner rather than later, especially when we don't have an end in sight to this dry weather. That means everybody's going to be looking for hay at the same time. Let's get ahead of that to reduce some of that stress in acquiring those hay resources.
All in all, Baxter believes this season is starting in a deficit and says that this year will be one that requires careful planning and management.
We're starting this season 2 to 3 steps behind already. We may have barns empty, our soil profiles depleted. We're starting as the underdog for this season. And so as we go into it, we need to be very mindful of what inputs we have available, timing them the best we can to actually take advantage and get a yield benefit and a production benefit from those materials.
Reporting in Tifton for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
Meantime, with a shrinking number of farmers looking for ways to provide for an ever-growing population, it's essential the agricultural industry stays on the cutting edge of technology.
And that's why a program like the Plot Initiative at Kennesaw State is so important, as it provides a pathway to the future. Damon Jones now with more from Cobb County.
The farming of tomorrow is on display at Kennesaw State University, where new and emerging technology is being implemented into agricultural practices. It's called the Plot Innovation Hub, a 25-acre research and teaching facility that serves as a testing ground for sustainable, intelligent living environments.
So the Prototype Living of Tomorrow initiative is a unique initiative, and it's trying to get a lot of different faculty working collaboratively in research about intelligence. And that means intelligent systems. We're talking about robotic systems for agriculture, robotic systems for the community, autonomous logistics, but also the inside of the home, things like aging in place and different types of technologies that would allow you to interact with your home and the environment in a smooth and easy, seamless way.
Along with advancing technology, creating a more efficient way of producing food is the major goal of this initiative, and that in turn could make farming attractive to a more diverse group of people.
The biggest barrier to entry, I think, for most young farmers now is property costs. So for very small structures like we're operating in our plot projects, profitability is scaled down. So you can have a much smaller footprint. So all your costs too are set. So once you have the basic infrastructure put in, your recurring costs aren't that high. And also because of the automation parts that we're working on, the labor costs go down dramatically as well.
With so much uncertainty around traditional farming practices like weather, soil conditions, and pests, having a controlled environment like this does give producers a little peace of mind when planning for the future.
It's the possibility of a predictive yield. So if I can tell someone that we're developing technologies that means that you can get 2,000 heads of lettuce per week, every one of them 8 ounces for 50 weeks out of the year, that lets you do a business plan.
With input costs reaching record levels over the past few years, adopting the use of robotics could be a future solution to controlling one of the farmers' biggest expenses, which is labor. And here at KSU, there are many different applications that are being tested in the field.
So robotics have two different techniques. One is the automation, interacting with the environment, picking the actual fruits, being able to actually inspect them, but also sensing the environment. So we have two modalities. One that is a robotic dog that kind of walks around, gets a really nice perception of the environment. It captures the data, looks at the actual images, also the depth images, looks at the quality of the fruit, the produce, and then based on that information, you can even do a digital twin where you can sit somewhere else in a whole different location and envision the entire field as if you're in front of it.
And this is just the beginning, as the program, which is set for a public launch at the beginning of April, already has plans to expand.
So for the next phase, we're looking at kind of interacting a little bit of better controlled environments. Typical greenhouses normally don't have a lot of control systems, including temperature control, fluid control, water, energy. All of that would be beneficial to actually have a full autonomous mechanism. And so for the future, we're looking at developing a whole new structure.
Reporting from Kennesaw State University, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
Peas, yes, they have been dodged on dinner plates for generations. But what if I told you they could actually steal the show? Dr. Tracey Brigman's got a couple of recipes that might just win you over. That's coming up on the other side of the break.
As more people move into Georgia's cities and suburbs, the way we manage land, water, food systems, and green spaces matters more than ever. At the University of Georgia's Center for Urban Agriculture, experts from the College of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences and UGA Cooperative Extension come together to address the challenges of a thriving state and a growing population. Housed on the UGA Griffin campus, just outside Metro Atlanta, the Center for Urban Agriculture acts as a bridge, connecting university research, extension expertise, industry partners, and the people who live and work across Georgia's expanding communities. Urban agriculture isn't just about growing food in small spaces. It includes managing landscapes and turf, protecting water resources, supporting urban forestry, addressing pests, improving nutrition, and creating community spaces that connect people to the environment around them. Faculty from across the university work alongside extension agents in counties throughout the state, turning research into practical, science-based solutions tailored to local needs. Whether it's helping homeowners, city planners, landscape professionals, or local leaders, urban agriculture meets people where they are, bringing agriculture and natural resources expertise into the places where most Georgians now live.
Well, if that doesn't make you want to pick up the silverware and a big old bib and dive right in, I don't know what will. Well, welcome back to the Farm Monitor and to another edition of Meals from the Field. And welcome back, Dr. Tracey Brigman. And today we are doing some brunch recipes, some side recipes.
Yeah. So spring is in the air. So people have spring brunches. Easter's coming up. Sunday brunch with family. So I have some spring side dishes that I think will be a big hit. So we're going to start with a classic scalloped potatoes. Who doesn't like potatoes? In this pan, I have a 1/4 cup of butter that I melted, and then I added 1 large sweet onion that I diced and 2 cloves of garlic that I minced. And I sauteed them over medium-low heat till they were soft. I actually, 3 to 4 minutes, I actually sauteed mine a little bit longer because I like that caramelized. If you don't want to, just take it off after 3 or 4 minutes. I have my oven preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and this is a 9 by 13 inch baking dish that you can see I coated in butter. So now that my onions and garlic is soft, I'm gonna add, this is 5 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. So I'm just gonna sprinkle this in and stir it around, and I wanna cook this for about 2 minutes. It's gonna become like a thick kind of paste, but I wanna make sure that flour is good and cooked before I add any of the liquid. So my flour has been cooking in my butter for about 2 minutes, and now it's time to start slowly adding the liquid. So here I have 3 cups of whole milk, and this is 1 cup of chicken broth. So we're gonna test your stirring skill or pouring skills. I want you to pour that into that. So while my butter and onions and garlic and flour over a medium-low heat, I'm gonna slowly add this liquid mixture, and I'm gonna whisk within each small addition until it's smooth, because if I don't, I'm gonna get lumps.
Okay.
So I have all of my liquid whisked in, and I'm gonna turn my heat up to medium and bring this to a boil. I don't wanna rush it. If I turn it up to high, my milk can curdle, it can separate. So my sauce has boiled for a minute over medium heat. Now, if you would, add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and then 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper. So I don't have an 1/8 of a teaspoon measuring spoon. Most of them don't, so just estimate 1/2 of the 1/4. All right. So now it's time to put together our casserole, and the key to scalloped potatoes is layering. So I have my buttered dish. I want you to take 1/3 of those sliced potatoes. Again, that's 3 pounds of Yukon Gold. They're gonna hold together better than baking potatoes. So we'll start with 1 layer. So then sprinkle with 1/3 of the salt and 1/3 of the pepper.
Like a pinch?
Yep. Now I'm gonna take 1/3 of this sauce and pour it over. So if you'll excuse me so I don't burn you. It doesn't have to cover completely, because once you start baking it, it will even out. So now we're gonna add 2 more layers. Once I have all of my layers done, I'm gonna tightly cover it with aluminum foil, put it in my 350 degree oven and cook it for about 45 minutes. And then I'm gonna take the cover off and bake it for another 35 to 45 minutes until it's bubbly and my potatoes are done, and you have a wonderful scalloped potato dish.
Next recipe, this one involves everybody's favorite peas.
Yes, so early peas are in season. Everywhere I've gone, people have been looking for them. I finally found some at a local farmer's market. So we're gonna make a creamy early pea with pancetta side dish. So I have a large pot of salted water, And this is 2 cups of my fresh early peas. You can also call them English peas, spring peas, but we normally call them early peas. I'm gonna put this in my boiling salted water, and I'm gonna let it boil for a minute. Now I have 1 pound of sugar snap peas that have been trimmed. I'm gonna add that to the water and boil those for 2 minutes. All right, so my sugar snap peas have boiled for 2 minutes, and now this is 1/4 pound of snow peas that I trimmed, and I took the string out so that it wasn't so hard to chew it, and then I sliced very thin. I'm gonna put that in the water, and this is gonna boil for about 30 seconds. All right, so all of my peas have cooked. I need to now take this pot, and excuse me, I'm going to put this in a strainer. And if you will shake the water out of that, whew, steam. And we're gonna dump that in this ice bath right here. We do that to set the color and the texture and to stop it from cooking, because we still want a little bit of crispness. Okay, so it's time to make the sauce. In this pan, I put 4 ounces of pancetta, and I cooked that over medium heat for about 8 minutes until you see it got all nice and crisp. And then I removed it from the pan, leaving the oil in my pan. We're gonna put this off to the side because that's gonna be our topping. So now it's time for the sauce. I have my pancetta grease. This is 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. I'm gonna sprinkle this in. This is over medium heat. And I'm gonna stir it in there for about a minute, again, to cook that flour. All right, so you can see I've cooked the flour, it's browned, it's not clumpy, and now we're gonna start adding liquids to deglaze the pan a little bit more. This is 1.5 cups of low sodium chicken broth. So I'm gonna pour that in gently because you can see it's gonna more steam. And you can see all the good bits coming off the bottom of the pan. And then to that, I'm gonna add 1/2 cup of heavy cream. All right, so my cream sauce has reduced, it's thickened, so now I'm going to add all the peas that I cooked. So we drained those, and then we're gonna put that in the sauce. And then we just need to heat this through. So it's gonna take about 3 to 5 minutes maybe to heat all these through in the sauce. Once it's heated through, I'm gonna add the juice of 1 lemon. You don't wanna add it before, otherwise your cream sauce won't thicken. So once that's heated through, the juice of 1 lemon, I'm gonna top with my crispy pancetta and some salt and pepper, and you have your creamy early peas with pancetta.
2 very easy recipes that you can do at home, recipes that you can find by logging on to farm-monitor.com, going to the recipe section, and everything listed out there for you step by step. And again, peas are one of those things that not everybody likes them, but if they're cooked the right way, you could get new people on board, I guess.
Absolutely. Put a cream sauce on it, add cheese if you want. Oh my goodness.
And you're good to go. Well, Tracey, as always, thank you so much. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next month for another edition of Meals from the Field.
Tracey, Ray, great stuff as always. If you're just joining us, or maybe life got in the way and you missed a story or two, no worries. Everything you see on today's show and a whole lot more lives on the Farm Monitor YouTube channel. So yes, there's plenty there to catch up on. And while you're at it, come and hang out with us on the Farm Monitor Facebook page. That's where you'll find the behind-the-scenes moments, the latest updates, and some interactive content you won't see anywhere else. So go ahead, like, follow, and subscribe to both our Facebook and YouTube pages and be part of the Farm Monitor family. Fewer cows, more milk, and a whole lot of innovation. How today's dairy farmers are working smarter while caring for the land and their legacy. Next, when the Farm Monitor continues.
Farmers are the first environmentalists. You know, we care more about the land than most anybody else, because if we don't have the land, we're done. It's a rarity nowadays for people to know where their food comes from. 40 years ago, 50–75% of the people knew a farmer. Now I'd say, only 2% of the population's a farmer. It's really a tragedy because there's such a good story to be told in the dairy industry. We've taken an industry that back in the 50s, we had 50 million dairy cattle in the United States. And today we're producing more milk with 9.5 million cows. Back in that day, a lot of people grazed cattle and had cattle walking in the streams, and I'd say pollution levels were a lot higher then. Today we have to collect the waste from the cows and we have to store it until we can agronomically put it out on the fields, so that we manage the soils properly so we get the most bang for our buck, but we also don't pollute the streams. When I took over managing our dairy in late 1999, early 2000, our herd average, which is milk that each cow produces per year, was about 18,000 pounds per cow. And today we're about 31,000 pounds per cow. Our cow, she walks into the barn, she gets milked. Milk's taken from her and put through a chiller. And that milk's taken from body temperature of a cow, which is about 102.5, and dropped to 35 degrees and put straight onto a tractor trailer. And it goes straight to the plant the next day. So most of the milk that's sitting on your store shelves is probably less than 48 hours old. And that's a pretty good testament to how efficient we are, so those products can get to the store shelf quickly. Up until this year, we've always sold our corn that we have for grain, but this year we've put in some storage system and a grinder, so we're going to start grinding our own feed. It saves us a significant amount of money, and it helps us not have to truck product off the farm and truck it back, so it saves us some fuel costs and other things. The cows and the employees I have, I treasure every one. They help me be able to pay my bills and do what I do, and I don't ever want to take that for granted, but my family, the most important thing in this world. I would like to see this business carry on to my children if they choose to do this. The way that it's moving, I think they'll have more opportunities than I've had. We keep learning how to better feed cattle, how to get more production. I want to give them every opportunity to do better than I've done.
Well, big thanks to the Dairy Alliance for that great story. Also, thank you for making the show possible.
Before we send you on your way, a friendly reminder that for all the latest ag news regarding food, recipes, and what's happening on Georgia farms, be sure you check out all of our social media platforms, including farm-monitor.com. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time right here on the Farm Monitor.
Have a great week.